Crash Course Politics. Education Policy.
The evolution of education policy. Education reform has focused on three central values of American democracy: social and political order, individual liberty, and social and political equality. The changing priority placed on each value is often what led to education reform. The foundations of education policy. In the late 19th century and early 20th century, when immigration was at high levels, education again emerged on the governmental agenda. Many of the social, economic, and political elites of the era came to view education as a tool for assimilating immigrants and for protecting social and political order. By this time, systems of education had evolved away from the church-based model and had become more professionalized institutions of local government financed through county or municipal taxation. Taxpayers in the counties and cities came from a variety of backgrounds and were usually not inclined to support religion and moral teachings in schools. One of the most prominent education reform advocates of the time was John Dewey, who introduced the idea of experiential learning. Students would be exposed to information through practical experience, which could then become usable knowledge. In this way, Dewey felt education would also promote individual liberty because every student's knowledge-creating experience would be particular to the learner and his or her own unique needs or goals. Dewey's influence on education continues to shape many education policy reform initiatives today. 20th century changes. Through education policies such as the National Defense Education Act of 1957, legislators attempted to educate thousands of highly skilled scientists and engineers able to build the weapon systems and other products needed to establish the United States as an even stronger military and economic power during the Cold War. Liberal educational reforms. Many liberal education reforms in the late 20th century were derived from the principles enunciated in the Supreme Court's landmark decision in Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. This case established both the roadmap for racial desegregation in schools and a national standard for equality of educational opportunity. This legacy was apparent in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1968, which concentrated primarily on policies that would advance equality of opportunity for children. These policies signaled a turning point in a policy area that had previously been reserved for state and local governments. The national government, under the leadership of Democratic President Jimmy Carter, established the Department of Education in 1979. This cabinet-level agency was created specifically to guide national education policy, establish education opportunity programs and curriculum guidelines, and construct national examinations for administration in local schools. Conservative education reforms. Milton Friedman's Nobel Prize-winning book, Capitalism and Freedom, described the conservative view on education reform. Friedman viewed government involvement in public education as an intrusion on personal freedom and concluded that through private marketplace competition, schools would be forced to either improve student achievement outcomes or face the shuttering of their enterprise. President Ronald Reagan was a strong advocate of Friedman's education proposals.
The No Child Left Behind Act. The conflicting viewpoints of liberal and conservative reformers continue to shape education policies in the 21st century. The No Child Left Behind Act is an example of a bipartisan education reform bill that reflects a combination of liberal and conservative education policy reforms. There are four main pillars of the No Child Left Behind Act. The first pillar deals with results-oriented accountability. The legislation is designed to monitor student achievement in schools, paying special attention to disadvantaged student populations. Each year, students are given standardized tests to measure whether they have met a set of education goals. The results are then broken down by race, ethnicity, and gender to better measure students' progress. Schools and school districts also use this data to issue annual report cards on their achievement. Schools that don't meet their goals are encouraged to offer ancillary education services like tutoring to improve students' educational achievement. However, if progress still isn't made, schools or school districts may be forced to reorganize. The second pillar deals with encouraging state and local flexibility in the use of national funds. Flexibility in funding is an effort to build a cooperative education enterprise between national, state, and local government by reducing commitment to one-size-fits-all policy reforms. Depending on local needs, schools can use resources to improve school technology, develop experimental programs intended to improve education outcomes, or invest in programs to improve teacher training and quality. Outcomes are regarded as more important than uniformity in process. The third pillar of No Child Left Behind envisions the national government as a supplier of proven methods of achieving high-quality education outcomes. National policy analysts and curriculum experts create the best practices in a range of subject areas ranging from reading to mathematics to science and share this information and curriculum with schools and school districts. The fourth pillar of No Child Left Behind focuses on school choice, meaning that if a child is attending a failing school, students and their parents may have the option to enroll at an institution that is successfully meeting its educational achievement goals. One way of doing this is through vouchers or certificates issued by the government that may be applied toward the cost of attending private or other public schools. Parents may also choose to send their kids to charter schools, which are semi-public schools that have open admission but may also receive private donations to increase the quality of education. In summary,